At the beginning of the movie, we're introduced to a young woman named Kai, who's driving alone in her car. She seems visibly anxious, nervously talking to herself as she drives. After some time, she finally arrives at her destination, a remote place called Kryptic Peak, where a group of women has gathered for a trip. However, Kai doesn't know a single person there. To help everyone get oriented, the guide hands out maps and instructs the women to begin hiking uphill. As they trek along the trail, the group comes across a wildflower wrapped delicately in red cloth. The guide explains that the flower is called Barb Valentine, a name given by a cryptologist, someone who investigates strange creatures and unexplained phenomena. Legend has it that a mysterious monster named Soka is said to live deep within the forest. Barb had once come here, searching for it, but she vanished without a trace. The women begin talking among themselves about the story, and soon they decide to track down more clues. While the others stick together, Kai suddenly strays off in another direction, heading deeper into the opposite side of the forest. There, she spots a red coat hanging from a branch, but without giving it much thought, she continues walking. Suddenly, she hears movement behind her. Calmly, she pulls out her camera and starts recording. Behind the bushes, she spots a strange animal. Then something disturbing happens. A milky white liquid begins oozing from Kai's ears, and her eyes suddenly glow a vivid green. The screen abruptly cuts to black. Back with the group, the guide realizes Kai is missing and calls the main office to report it. Meanwhile, Kai is seen entering a restroom on the other side of the area. She calmly washes her face and brushes her hair, then walks back and quietly rejoins the group of women. Oddly, no one, not even the guide, seems to recognize her. No one knows her name, and no one notices she had been gone. The guide then announces that he'll do a head count again and begins calling everyone's name one by one. When he says Kai's name, she doesn't respond at all. It's like she's in some sort of trance or being controlled. While the rest of the women gather to one side, Kai remains standing by herself. The guide asks her, "If that's your name, why didn't you step forward earlier?" But by the look on her face, it's clear she doesn't remember anything. Concerned, the guide ends the trip on the spot and tells everyone to return. He contacts the office again and confirms that the missing girl has been found, so no one is unaccounted for anymore. Kai, however, is still completely disoriented. She can't even remember where she parked her car. When she presses her key fob, she hears her car beep in response. She walks to it, gets in, and sits down. Looking through her bag, she finds her ID card, which also contains her home address. But nothing feels familiar to her. She doesn't know where she is or what she's supposed to do next. Following the address on the ID, she drives home, parks the car, and enters the house. After changing her clothes, she immediately falls asleep. The next morning, Kai wakes up and starts inspecting the house more carefully. Then she picks up the camera she had used at Kryptic Peak. Right then, her phone rings. On the other end is a man named Don, who asks her to come meet him that day, as he has a lot of work. He mentions that a patient named Ms. Singh is coming for a checkup. He also casually asks how her trip was. But Kai doesn't know what to say. She's still confused and overwhelmed, so she hangs up on Don. Later, when she does go to meet him, she learns that Don is a veterinarian. As he greets her, he repeats his earlier question. "So how was your trip?" But Kai notices something strange. Don's clothes are covered in blood. When she asks him about it, Don explains that Pete, an animal, was seriously injured in an accident and had to undergo emergency surgery. Hearing this, Kai doesn't respond and simply returns home. Later, as she sits drinking alone, she begins researching Soka on her laptop. She also looks up Barb Valentine, and what she finds shocks her to the core. Barb looks exactly like her. Startled and frightened, Kai quickly shuts her laptop. Suddenly, she notices a shadow outside her window, which terrifies her even more. She grabs her bag and heads to the front door, but just then she hears the sound of the window breaking. In a panic, she rushes to her car and drives off into the night, down a lonely, deserted road. The scene cuts to her sleeping inside her car. Afterwards, she arrives in a small town and checks into a hotel where she meets a woman named Sally. Sally asks if she's here to visit the valley, to which Kai replies that she's actually here looking for her friend, Barb Valentine. Surprised, Sally asks, "Isn't she that monster hunter?" Kai nods and confirms, "Yes, that's exactly right." Later, Kai goes to her room and begins watching old interviews of Barb. In one of the videos, Barb confidently says that she has seen Sokka with her own eyes, and that she plans to return to Blue Whale Lake to track him down once again. Kai takes notice of a locket, and we see that when the father touches it, Kai instinctively mirrors his action, touching it too. Soon after, Sally arrives and invites Kai for a drink. The two of them end up drinking quite a bit together. During their conversation, Kai opens up, saying she feels like just running away from everything. Sally responds gently, saying, "Whatever your reason for leaving is, maybe it's better to embrace it and find happiness in it." Later, Key returns to her room, still unsettled, and begins watching old videos of Barb again. In one of them, Barb's husband, Morgan, is seen pleading with her to come back home. In the next scene, we briefly see Sokka, the mysterious creature, along with someone wearing a red coat. The scene abruptly cuts off. The next morning, Kai heads down to the front desk to return her room key. But Sally is nowhere to be found. So she simply leaves the key there and takes a musical ladder, possibly a musical box or instrument, based on the context, with her. Kai then drives toward Blue Whale Lake and enters the surrounding forest, determined to search for Sokka. But suddenly a strange small creature appears in front of her, frightening her. However, it turns out not to be a creature, it's a woman, who calms Kai down and introduces herself as Stella. Hearing the name, Kai relaxes a bit. Stella invites her home and shows her various photos of Sokka. She then tells Kai some disturbing facts. Sokka affects people sexually. It gives off a horrible stench, and when people see it, a substance similar to semen leaks from their body. Kai, recalling her first encounter, says something similar came from her ears. As they talk, Kai notices a photo of a young girl on the wall. Stella explains that the girl is her daughter, who disappeared 10 years ago. She says they had pulled over by the forest, and her daughter had gone out to use the bathroom, but she never returned. Stella believes Sokka took her. Kai then shows Stella the footage from her camera, and Stella confirms that it matches what she herself once saw. Soon after, Kai begins to hallucinate. She sees a man in a red coat moving through the woods, chasing her. Her condition deteriorates quickly, and Stella urges her to rest. After some time, Kai regains consciousness, but notices that her feet are covered in mud again. She calls out for Stella, but no one answers. Stella is gone. Kai begins looking for her camera, but it's missing. Instead, she finds a flashlight, gathers her things, and begins carefully walking through the forest again. Suddenly, a hand touches her shoulder. She jumps in fear, only to see a girl standing there. The girl introduces herself as Diana, and shockingly, she's Stella's daughter, the same one who had disappeared 10 years ago. Kai is completely disoriented and assumes she must be lost. Diana tells her the main road is just behind them, and then she runs off before Kai can ask anything else. Later, while eating street food, Kai notices a community notice board. To her shock, Diana's photo's on it. A waiter nearby explains that whenever someone goes missing, their photo's posted there. Kai points to Diana's picture and asks if they ever found her, but the waiter simply shrugs and says he doesn't know. Feeling more and more like she's caught in some kind of trap, Kai asks the waiter for a nearby hotel address, books a room, and begins watching another interview with Morgan. In it, he describes Barb as beautiful, but says he has no idea where she went. Alone in her room, Kai begins to embrace herself in front of the mirror, almost as if grounding herself. Later, she heads to a local bar where she meets a bartender named Cabe, who begins to flirt with her. While at the bar, a woman approaches Kai, starts chatting, and even shows her a few magic tricks. Kai tells her that she's searching for a strange creature, and the woman introduces herself as Barb Bill. They share a dance, and Kai seems ready to leave, but the woman convinces her to put on a costume and tells her about someone named Jonette, a woman living in Green Park who has also seen Sokka. While in the bar restroom, Kai hears a suspicious sound and walks in on a man named Kalev in an intimate situation with a girl. Kalev notices Key watching, but before anything can be said, his eyes suddenly glow green, a terrifying transformation. Seeing this, e.g. the other girl, becomes violently enraged and begins to strangle the girl, ultimately killing her on the spot. The next morning, Kai goes to visit Janet. A young man opens the door and introduces himself as Sasha, Janet's son. Sasha invites Kai inside and goes to call his mother. While waiting, Kai notices a book sitting nearby. It was actually written by Barb. Inside the book, she finds Barb's address listed. A moment later, Janet arrives. She looks at Kai and asks, "Have you been here before?" Kai replies, "No, this is my first time," and introduces herself politely. As they talk, Kai realizes that Caleb is Janet's boyfriend. Janet then opens up, saying, "People in this town don't believe me. They think I'm crazy. They say Soka has sexually affected everyone here. It's why so many people in this place behave so intimately." Key sympathizes with her and trusts her. Soon after, Janet invites her to a party. At the party, Chungo makes an entrance, and suddenly everyone starts mocking Soka and Janet. Caleb is among them, laughing with the others. Janet, deeply humiliated, storms out in anger. Kai begins to realize the people in this town are very strange. Feeling uneasy, Key starts drinking. She also notices how Janet mistreats Sasha, speaking harshly to him. But Sasha, clearly upset, shouts back, "That's the reason Dad left us," and runs off into the forest. Kai follows him. Once they're alone in the woods, they begin to talk. Sasha says something strange. "I remember, you've been here before." Kai insists, "No, I haven't. You must be mistaken." But Sasha doesn't back down. "We both have some kind of special energy," he says. And as he speaks, his eyes begin to glow green. Later, after having more drinks, Key starts looking for her car. But instead of finding it, Caleb appears. Sensing she's drunk, he tries to take advantage of her and lures her into the forest. Suddenly, we see Caleb begin to swallow something slippery. It's Soka. Kai regains consciousness just in time to see Caleb screaming in pain, and she runs away in terror. As she drives off, a girl suddenly appears in front of her car, someone who looks exactly like her. Shocked, Kai jumps out to check, but there's no one there. Shaken, she gets back in the car, but now the car won't start. Still holding onto Barb's business card, Kai decides to walk all the way to Barb's house. She knocks on the door, and a man named Morgan answers. He mistakes Kai for Barb and immediately hugs her. He brings her inside and helps her clean up, noticing a strong smell on her. After giving her a shower, he asks, "Where have you been all this time?" But Kai doesn't give him any answers. Morgan helps her get dressed nicely, and the two of them go out to dinner. During the meal, Kai suddenly says, "I remember our honeymoon. It was wonderful." Morgan becomes visibly uncomfortable. She continues, "But every time we got intimate, you turned into a monster." Morgan insists, "That's not true. You always stayed with those forest creatures. That's what made you angry. And after that, you just left." Kai's knowledge of Barb and Morgan's honeymoon is mysterious. How could she know any of that? The truth is still unclear, but the answers will come later. That night, Kai goes to sleep, and Morgan tries to get intimate with her. Realizing his intentions, Kai pretends to be asleep. But Morgan doesn't stop. He wakes her and begins touching her. As he does, something stirs inside her. The monster within Kai begins to awaken. She punches Morgan, shoves him away, and locks herself inside another room. There she finds files labeled Bark, which detail the cases of many missing girls. Morgan follows her, apologizing repeatedly, but Kai grabs her things and runs to the car. As she's trying to leave, Morgan slams his hand on the window, causing the car to stall. Kai's eyes glow green, and as she starts the car, she hits the gas. Morgan is thrown into a wall. He falls to the ground, lifeless. Then, in a disturbing twist, Kai begins to get intimate with his dead body, and within moments, she transforms into a full monster. She then puts on a red coat, takes a car, and heads to Kai's original house. But something is strange. Her old car is already parked outside. She's stunned. "How can this be?" she wonders. "I left my car on the road. Then where did this one come from?" Kai approaches the house window and hears the sound of someone running inside. She breaks the window and enters the house, but someone is already there. Suddenly, she sees the front door open, and someone drives off with her car. As shown at the beginning of the movie, Kai is seen watching a mysterious shadow from inside her house. Later, wearing that same red coat, she wraps a wildflower in red cloth and carefully places it deep within the forest. From there, she begins wandering through the woods, just as we had seen her do earlier in the story. And then the film ends.